Nazca Lines written for the sky. There are places that were not meant to be seen from the ground, places that only reveal their true meaning when you move away, when you look from above. In the middle of the southern Peruvian desert, the land seems calm, almost empty. There are no high mountains or great structures, only sand, silence, and a strange sense of vastness. But beneath this apparent calm, something impossible happens. Perfect lines cross the desert for miles. Giant figures appear drawn on the earth. Animals, geometric shapes, symbols that should not exist at such a scale. They are so large that when you walk over them, you cannot see them completely. From the ground, they look like meaningless paths. From the sky, they reveal a message that no one has been able to fully decipher. Who made them? Why? And how did they draw them with such precision, without being able to see the complete design? For centuries, these markings remained hidden, protected by the dry desert climate. They were not made to impress travelers walking across the sand. They seem to have been made for someone, or something, watching from above. The Nazca Lines do not shout their story. They whisper, and the more you look at them, the more questions appear. The most unsettling thing about the Nazca Lines is not their size. It is their precision. Some lines run straight for miles, without bending, without losing direction, crossing hills, valleys, and uneven terrain, as if the land did not exist. Others form figures so exact that they seem drawn with invisible rulers. From the ground, there is no way to understand them. There are no reference points, no perspective. And yet, there are no mistakes. There are no visible sketches, no corrections. The lines seem to have been planned before they were made, as if those who drew them already knew the final result. Some figures represent animals, a hummingbird, a monkey, a spider. Others are simple lines, spirals, trapezoids. They follow no clear pattern. They do not tell an obvious story. They do not mark a beginning or an end. Then an unsettling question arises. If they were not meant to be seen from the ground, who were they made for? The desert remains silent. The wind erases human footprints, but the lines remain untouched. Centuries pass. Civilizations disappear, and still, the drawings remain, as if they were waiting for something. Maybe they were not paths. Maybe they were not art. Maybe they were not messages for humans. The Nazca Lines do not explain their purpose. They simply observe from below, while they seem to look toward the sky. Over time, the mystery began to unsettle those who studied them, not only because of what they show, but because of what they defy. How could an ancient civilization create gigantic figures without seeing them from the air? How did they maintain such perfectly straight lines without modern technology? Why invest so much effort in something that almost no one could fully appreciate? The answers were never clear. And then the theories began. Some believed the lines had a spiritual meaning, that they were sacred paths, walked during rituals, where stepping upon them was a way to communicate with the gods. In this view, the desert was not a canvas, but an open temple, and the figures were offerings visible only to higher forces. Others think they were connected to the sky, that the lines marked the positions of the sun, the moon, or the stars. A massive astronomical calendar carved into the earth, used to predict seasons, rainfall, and harvest times. If this were true, the Nazca were constantly looking upward, and the desert responded. But there are more unsettling theories. Some suggest the lines were signals, not for those who walked the desert, but for those who observed it from above. Figures too large for the ordinary human eye. Designs that only make sense when seen from the sky. This idea sends chills down the spine, because if they were not made for humans, then who were they made for? There is no definitive proof, only questions. And the more the Nazca Lines are studied, the clearer one thing becomes. No matter how many theories exist, none can fully explain their purpose. The desert is still there, the lines remain, and the mystery stays intact. The researchers discovered that the lines were not deeply carved. In fact, the Nazca people removed the dark surface layer of stones from the desert, revealing the lighter soil beneath. The contrast created the figures. A simple method, yet incredibly effective. The dry climate did the rest, preserving them for centuries. It was also proven that many of the lines could have been drawn using stakes and ropes. There was no need to fly. With planning, measurement, and patience, the figures could be designed step by step from the ground. The precision did not come from technology, but from knowledge. But this is where science stops, because although it explains how they were made, it does not fully answer why. Some research suggests that the lines were related to water, that they marked routes to underground water sources, or that they were part of rituals to ask for rain in a region where water meant life. In that context, the figures were not decorations, but acts of survival. Other scientific theories indicate that walking the lines was part of ceremonies. The movement, the journey, the act of following them held meaning. Perhaps they did not need to see the figures in their entirety. Perhaps what mattered was to experience them, not to observe them. And still, questions remain. Why such specific animals? Why such enormous sizes? Why visible only from the sky? Science illuminates parts of the path, but not the destination. Like a flashlight in the desert, it shows the ground in front of you, but not what lies beyond. The Nazca Lines remain there, between explanation and mystery. Understood, but not entirely silent, yet full of questions. To be in Nazca is to feel as though the desert is watching you. The sun beats down relentlessly on the silent land. There are no great mountains, no shadows to hide in. Everything feels simple, almost empty. You walk across the dry ground and, at first glance, see nothing extraordinary. Just sand, stones, lines that look like forgotten paths. But then you rise. From the air, the desert transforms. The lines slowly emerge, as if awakening. Enormous figures are revealed beneath you. A hummingbird spreading its wings, a monkey with its spiral tail, endless lines crossing the land with impossible precision. In that moment, you understand that this place was not made to be seen from a single point, but to be discovered. It is not only about looking, it is about feeling. The silence is profound. Time seems to stand still. There are no clear answers, and that is part of the experience. Nazca does not explain its history to you. It invites you to question it. To visit the Nazca Lines is to accept that there are places in the world that do not need to be fully understood to be powerful. Places where mystery is part of their beauty. Here, you will not find certainty. You will find wonder, curiosity, and the feeling of standing before something that connects the earth with the sky. Nazca is not visited with the eyes alone. It is lived through imagination.